Good morning, all of you. Myself, Dr. ANJALI PATIL from Rajaram College, Kolhapur. Welcome all my dear students and all my dear colleagues, those who are watching this program. Uh, at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers uh, of the online platform, which is being created for the students of botany or students of life sciences, called Botany for You. This induction program is running from 15th, I think, to the 18th of December. So this is a very great initiative, and I'm very thankful to the organizers to invite me as a resource person. We have little time crunch, so we will begin immediately with the topic of our discussion, that is mushroom technology. Okay, mushroom cultivation technology. I hope most of you are aware of what are mushrooms. Okay, mushrooms are the fruiting bodies of fungi. Okay, uh, huge number of fungi occupy the surface of the earth, and many of them are directly or indirectly related to human life, and we are using them on a large scale. In India, this technology is quite recent, but in the foreign countries, it has been utilized for a very long time. Let us go and discuss some points about which mushrooms are being cultivated throughout the world and in India, and what is the cultivation technology of the most common of them, and why we should cultivate them. What is the importance of cultivating mushrooms? Why should we go for mushroom technology and all? Okay. Now we will instead of going into history, I won't. I don't want to talk about the historical evidences when you can read it anywhere. Why? What I want to discuss here is why we should actually cultivate mushrooms. Why we should go for mushroom technology. See, India is a huge country with a huge population, and everybody we know whenever we go for studying the life styles, the standard of a population in a country, the living standard in the country of the people is decided upon the type of nutrition, the type of food that is consumed by the people. Now whenever you calculate the living standards, uh, the middle class group is always considered. Okay. uh, Now see, very rich people can afford to eat lot of things, and very poor people, their nutrition is, we know, already know that it is quite deficient in everything. But even if you go and observe the food habits of the middle class people, we find that in India, this is quite deficient in mm, proteins. Okay, so proteins are very important for healthy and good development, not only of our body but of our brain and our thinking capacities also. So the total development depends upon proteins, and we see that in India, many people are vegetarian. They do not consume meat, and that is a major source of proteins. And then the amount of protein that we get from the vegetarian food is also quite less. So mushrooms can be the most best alternative, we can see, for the consumption of proteins. Another thing is, most of the countries in the world, they are surrounded by sea, and they have a huge coastline, and therefore they can utilize the marine food or the seafood, as you so called, and obtain all this nourishment. But in India, if you see, only the peninsular part of India has a coastal, like coastline, but the remaining part of our country is not close to the coastal area. So we are not able to get the seafood so easily, or that easily, and we don't have it included in our food habits. So we have to find some other alternatives than the seafoods, and so mushrooms will be the best option, okay, as a resource of protein to fill up our malnutrition in terms of protein deficiencies. Then if, even if people eat meat, it is quite not possible for the low income group people to afford to eat meat every day. So this is one of the restrictions or limitations why our food is not rich in proteins. Now see, the mushroom cultivation, if you talk in terms of agricultural, a business, then it can become a very good side business, a small scale industry, and it requires very low input. Means you don't have to invest a lot of money or any infrastructure for cultivation of some types of mushrooms, and then you can very easily set up a mushroom industry. These mushrooms, they are cultivated in a very small space. Even if a small shed or a small room can be sufficient to cultivate a large number of mushrooms, okay. Tons of mushrooms can be cultured in a very small space. We do not require any agricultural soil. There is no problem of replacing your regular crops with this secondary, as a small scale industry or this product. So even the farmers or people who are not related to agriculture, can anybody can go for this. Another thing is, it does not require a huge technology or very deep scientific knowledge to start cultivating some kinds of mushrooms. If you just go for a very small course, even if you go on YouTube and learn all the things, it is very easy to cultivate some species of mushrooms at home. And even though you may not be interested in production of small scale industry, you can even cultivate them for yourselves or on a very, very small scale, okay. And you can utilize it as a very good protein substitute in your food. Now, India is an agricultural country, or even if we live in cities, it is quite easy to obtain agricultural waste products uh, because agriculture is our main occupation. So a lot of agro wastes are being thrown off, and they are not reutilized for any other purpose. So we can get them even free of cost if you are a farmer or if you are in the agricultural industry. So you can use very easily these agro wastes, and then you can start your production of mushrooms. So it is a labor intensive indoor activity. So women, landless laborers, and the youth, unemployed youth, women and the weaker sections of society, anybody can utilize this as their source of income. Okay, they can take up this business, and they can develop this into an industry. Now, this is a very important industry because it is going to serve nutritious food from unutilized resources which are available in large quantities in India. Okay. Then in the foreign countries, there is a huge demand for these mushrooms. So you can even export your product, and you can earn a lot of foreign exchange. So here you can see a picture of this is this is a tablet showing two women who are holding mushrooms in their hand. So it has a quite historical importance. See here also I have shown some photographs to show that they were being used as food materials, foodstuffs for a very very long time ago. They have even been depicted in the wall paintings and cave paintings. So see, yeah, they have been used in Aztec culture, the Maya, and the other cultures, which are very considered to be very old cultures. And see, these are the stones. Okay, mushroom stones they are called as, because they are exactly like mushrooms. So these photographs I have obtained from the net. You can also go and see the historical account. Now let us see how what are the different types of mushrooms that are being cultivated. Because see, mushrooms are not only cultivated for their edible values, they are cultivated for many other purposes also. they are like cultivated for their medicinal properties. They are cultivated as for their bioremedial properties, for fertilizers, as endophytic organisms, and so many things. So we are nowadays finding that mushrooms are being cultivated throughout the world, not only for means as a food material, but for many other important industrial processes also. So how we can classify the different types of mushrooms means, uh, what I want to say here is that you can go into the mushroom cultivation industry not only for producing fungi or mushrooms for their edible value, but for other purposes also. Now, there are cultivated mushrooms, okay, they are edible or they are having industrial value, and so they can be, they can be easily purchased in the market. So, some of the examples I have given here. This is just a picture showing how they are being cultivated in an industry. Now, there are wild mushrooms, means generally these mushrooms, for example, see, there are mycorrhizal fungi which are associated with the roots of higher plants. So it is not easy to cultivate them in your mushroom houses. So you have to just go out into the wild and collect them, and then many different types of species of mushrooms are being utilized in this way. So they are, people know locally which kind of varieties or species of mushrooms grow in which place. So they go there, they collect them, and they consume them for different purposes. So they are wild mushrooms. But there is one difficulty in this, that you have to be an expert in identification of these mushrooms, because there are many poisonous mushrooms that occur in the forested areas or in the wild. And some people think that, okay, if it is colored, then it may be poisonous. If it is white in color, then it is edible, and so on. It is not like that. So you have to be very clear about the understanding about mushrooms, and then only you can collect them from the wild and consume them. Otherwise, you may consume a poisonous mushroom by mistake. Now there are some mushrooms which give you medicines. Okay, they are, Ganoderma is the very common example. This is a cultivated. See here, I have shown you that Ganoderma is being cultured here on a large scale. So you don't culture only edible mushrooms, but you culture some other fungi which are mushrooms which are medicinally important also. So you can read all this in detail later on, because I will go a little bit faster so that we will complete this within time. So this is called as reishi. This is actually Ganoderma, okay, and this is being is highly medicinal mushroom. It very commonly occurs in our areas also throughout India, and you can collect them in the wild as well as you can cultivate them. Now, there are some psychoactive mushrooms because they contain a psychoactive ingredient, psilocybin, and they act like drugs. Okay, it is actually not recommended to cultivate these mushrooms, but you can cultivate them after obtaining licenses, because these substances obtained, they are utilized as medicines also. So you can culture such kind of specialized mushrooms also. So this is called as a psilocybe. This psilocybe, it contains psilocybin, and this occurs in wild also, and you can cultivate it also. Now see, these are some of the poisonous mushrooms. Amanita is a very common example, but there are many other mushrooms which are very, very poisonous. Now, when you consume them by mistake, they can just cause, stomach disorders. Okay, you may have vomiting, and these are very mild symptoms, but and sometimes your liver and kidneys can be damaged, and that is very difficult to treat. Okay, so it is an irreversible reaction. Okay, these are this is a death cap mushroom. It is called as Amanita phalloides. Now I have shown you this purposefully, is that it looks white in color, so people may think that it is edible. but it is not edible, and so you cannot differentiate or distinguish or identify mushrooms on the basis of their colors, whether they are edible or non-edible. Okay, so don't go for collecting mushrooms just on the basis of their colors. Now see, some of them are useful mushrooms. See this mushroom, it is called as an they are called as fly agarics. Okay, now amanita is a poisonous mushroom actually, but if you dip it in milk and if you just hang it, we in our place we use the branches of euphorbia, the plants of euphorbia. You just hang one or two twigs in your house, and then the flies or drosophila, they get attracted towards it. In the same way, the flies are attracted towards these fly agarics, and they eat or consume this milk or the poison which contains which is present in the agaric, and then it dies. Okay, so they are used to control them. They are also used for bioremediation, cleaning up of the environment. Then they are able to break down oil and other environmental contaminants also. Now they make a very good compost, and nowadays research is going on to find out the use of mushrooms as biofuels in packaging and different types of cleaning products, even in textiles and as even building materials. So you won't believe that mushrooms can be utilized for so many different types of purposes. So I told you that they are not only useful for as a food material. Now, you can also classify these mushrooms depending upon the substrate on which they are growing. Okay. Now, because if you want to go for a cultivation process, you have to find out a method or a substrate which is able to provide the sufficient food material. Because you have to find out how the mushroom is taking a food material in nature, and then you have to provide similar kind of conditions in your artificial mushroom houses, and then only you will be successful in cultivating mushrooms. So you can just develop your own technology also. If you find that some mushroom is very important and it is not being cultivated as yet, you can start a new industry, a new job, okay, by finding out the substrate on which it is growing. Okay, and then you provide it with the similar substrate. Therefore, mushrooms are cultivated on the basis of the habit, their habitat, means where they are growing. For example, here you can see they are growing on decaying wood, okay, or dung. Okay, they are, these are coprophilous and these are lignicolous. So all of them are actually saprophytic. Saprophytic means they are growing on decaying organic material. So they are more easier to cultivate. Then some of them are mycorrhizal. Mycorrhizal means here you can see there is a large tree, its root systems, and these mushrooms, the mycelium of this mushroom, it is attached to the root systems of the higher plants. So this is actually a symbiotic association. So if you want to try to cultivate such kind of mushrooms in your laboratories or in your mushroom houses, then you have to find out how you can replace, okay, the supply of nutrients from the higher plants to the mushrooms. Okay, so it is quite a little bit difficult to grow such kind of mushrooms. Okay, now here we have given some examples like truffles, porcini, chanterelles, and matsuta, and so many others. Okay, so these are the mycorrhizal mushrooms, means their way of taking up nutrients or food material is quite different. Then there are some parasitic mushrooms also. See, here we have shown one mushroom which is growing on the trunk of a tree. So if you want to culture it, you have to provide it with nutrients that it is taking up from the tree trunks. Now here you can see some fungi, they are growing from the bodies of insects also. So what they take up from the insects, we have to find out. And then cordyceps or ophiocordyceps, you must have heard about them. They are generally harvested from nature, but nowadays they are being cultivated on a very large scale, and very important medicines are being extracted and utilized from these mushrooms or from these fungi. they are sold for lakhs of rupees. I think many of you have seen videos related to these cordyceps. If you just go to the net, you will find out how valuable these mushrooms are. Now there may be endophytic fungi. Means the endophytic fungi, they are growing inside the bodies of plants. So they may be present in the stems, they may be present in the leaves, roots, and different parts of the plant body. Now some of them also produce mushrooms, and some of them don't produce them. They just remain inside the plant bodies. It is found that these endophytic fungi, they are not only producing mushrooms, which are important, but they are affording protection or immunity from diseases to these plants inside which they occur. Now, what are the different types of popular mushrooms in the world which are being cultivated on a large scale? So there are about a list of 20 most popular varieties of mushrooms. We will just look into what are these different varieties. Okay, these are the button mushrooms. Everybody is aware of them. Okay, Agaricus bisporus. Uh, we use them very commonly nowadays. They are also available easily in the market. Okay, so these are button mushrooms. Then cremini mushrooms. Okay, then portobello mushrooms. These are their common names, and some scientific names or examples are also being given. Then oyster mushrooms, okay, pleurotus. Then king oyster mushrooms. See, this is Erinjae. I have shown you the photograph so that you will understand what is the difference in all these mushrooms. Then these are called as chanterelles. These are porcini mushrooms, means boletus species. Now hedgehog mushrooms, it is an hydnum species. So they are commonly called as beef tongues also. See, this is called a chicken of the woods mushrooms. Okay, see, this is a wood rotting fungus. It is called as letiporus. Okay, letiporus, they are called as chicken of the woods. Now, see, black trumpet mushrooms, you can just see from the names also, the shapes, the color, okay, the name is based upon it or based upon the habitat on which it is growing or the substrate. So, this is the Craterellus. It is called as a black trumpet mushroom. Then this is a wood blavet mushroom, okay, Lepista. So, they are so beautiful, no, even to look at them. This is the very highly appreciated mushrooms are morels. Okay. Then see, these are very small, delicate mushrooms. Okay, you can eat them like noodles. They are called as enoki mushrooms. Then this is called shimeji mushrooms. Okay. Uh, then shiitake mushrooms. Okay, these are shiitakes. Then comes the mytake mushrooms, Grifola species. These are reishi mushrooms. We have seen Ganoderma. So they are both edible and they are also, they are used as medicines. Okay, see, they are, claimed to be able to fight against HIV and AIDS. For a few years back, if you remember, HIV and AIDS was a very, and very harmful disease which was spreading like pandemic. Nowadays you talk about corona virus, and people were so frightened about this virus, HIV and AIDS infections. So it is able to treat or fight against HIV. So this Ganoderma is very important. Then lion's mane mushroom, you can see then from the name itself why it may be called as a lion's mane. Okay, so this is the lion's mane mushroom. It is called Hericium. We even find this growing in our localities. Then this is Matsutake mushroom. Okay, this is Trichoderma species. Okay, this is how it looks like. And the puffballs. Okay, they are Lycopterodon species, and these puffballs also commonly occur here in our area. So most of the mushrooms can be found growing throughout India, all these species. But few of them are edible and few of them are not edible. So we should be able to recognize. So I have gone through this very fast. You can read all these things later on. but these are the highly ranking the 20 most commonly cultivated mushrooms throughout the world. Now, in India or throughout the world, again, which mushrooms are preferred for cultivation? The first one ranking first is the Agaricus bisporus. It is commonly called as white button mushroom. Then Volvariella volvacea. It is called as a paddy straw mushroom. Pleurotus sajor kaju. It is the oyster, or it is called as a dingri mushroom. Trimella fusiformis, it is called a silver ear mushroom, and Auricularia polytricha, which is called as a Jew's ear mushroom. So these are five most important mushrooms which are being cultivated. Now we are going to see in detail about the cultivation technique of Pleurotus sajor kaju. Now why Pleurotus sajor kaju? Because in India, the climatic conditions are quite favorable for the growth of Pleurotus sajor kaju throughout the year. Okay, so it does not require very low temperatures or very specific climatic conditions. It is quite a strong kind of mushroom which can be cultivated throughout India with very little efforts. It does not require large amount of money or any investment, large infrastructure and things like that, and therefore it is very easy to cultivate. Anybody, if you just study the technique carefully, you can start cultivating these mushrooms. So it is commonly called as dhingri. It is ranked fourth important commercial mushroom in the world. Now India is one of the leading countries which is producing this dhingri mushroom. Now uh, the Pleurotus species, it is characterized by absence of the style. It is only having an oyster shell like a cap. Okay, this is an oyster shell like cap, and therefore it is called as an oyster mushroom. Now they are medicinally also very important, and their nutritive value is also very important. So we will go through that later on, and then you will understand why cultivation of Pleurotus sajor kaju is preferred, or why it is more important. Now, what you require for cultivation actually, you require the paddy straw or wheat straw, any kind of agricultural waste can be utilized. The maize cobs are used, even we get potato peels from industrial waste. Okay, so many agricultural waste products can be obtained, and they can be all utilized for the cultivation of this dingri mushroom. But most preferably we have rice or wheat straw in abundant quantities in India. So you can get it and you can use it as a base material or as a substrate for cultivation of the mushroom. Then we require the spawn bottles. These are spawn bottles. So what is a spawn bottle? Spawn means the grain, the seed, okay, which is used for cultivation of mushrooms. Now, if you see in a wheat plant, for example, we will use the wheat grains. We will sow the wheat grains, and the wheat grain will develop into a wheat plant. So here, what we have to use? We have to either use the spores of these mushrooms, or we have to use the mycelium of these mushrooms, okay, for cultivating mushroom. So therefore it is called as a seed spawn. Another thing is, it is growing, the mycelium is growing upon the seeds of wheat or jowar, or even smaller millets, and therefore it is called as a seed spawn. So I will tell you how to prepare this seed spawn also later on. So here you can see the bottles of your seeds, okay, for cultivating mushrooms. Then you will require water sprayer and polythene bags and all. Okay. Now what is spawn actually? See, this is a mushroom and these are the gills. Okay, this is called as the fertile part of the mushroom. Now here what happens? Spores are formed. The basidio spores are formed here, and the spores, they look like this. So you can use these spores, okay, for producing the mushrooms, okay, or these spores, they germinate, okay, and they produce such mycelium. So this white colored threads that you can see, this is called as the vegetative part of the plant body, that is the mycelium. So you can use either this mycelium or you can use the spores for cultivation. Understood? So these are called as the grains or the seeds for mushrooms. Now see how you collect mushrooms, for example, okay, from nature. Then you cut them into pieces and you just take off the spores, okay, from this, or you can just cut off a small piece of a tissue of this mushroom, and then you inoculate into a culture medium, okay, sterilized culture medium, and you allow it to grow. And then what will happen here, you can see the white growth of the fungus. Now this is your spawn. So this is your seed which you are going to use to cultivate the mushrooms. Okay. Now see how a grain spawn is formed. Okay. This is the grain spawn. So what you do is you take wheat grains. Okay. You soak them in water overnight. You then fill them in the bottles and then you sterilize them. Okay. Sterilize means you can just keep it in a pressure cooker or you can keep it inside an autoclave and then you cook it. Okay. For about 20 minutes at 121 degrees centigrade or 15 pounds pressure in this autoclave. So what happens is all the grains they get sterilized. Okay. Now means other, what is the meaning of sterilization is other fungi or any other bacteria or other organisms are now not going to grow upon them. Then what you do is you just put a small piece of a mushroom into these bottles, or you can you can inoculate this mycelium, or you can inoculate spores. So you just add them to these bottles. And then what you do, you put a cap on the bottle and keep them in dark because the fungi require dark for development. They are not photosynthetic, so they don't need sunlight. So you just keep them in a cupboard in dark, and after 10 to 15 days, what you will find, see all these wheat grains, they are covered by the white mycelium. So this bottle starts looking milky white in color. Now what you have a large number of seeds, okay, which you are going to use to grow the mushrooms. Okay, so this also can be done at home. What you can do is you can just purchase one packet of uh, fresh or pure mycelium from any resource, and then you can multiply it on your own. There is no need to buy all these seeds every time. You just purchase once, and it is very cost effective. It is very you have to give about 20 rupees or something for just 200 grams of a packet of mycelium. So there is no input at all if you think about the other industries. So you just bring a packet and later on you can just multiply yourself. So you can make as many number of bottles as you want, okay, for your own production. Now what is done is actually the wheat straw, it has to be very fresh. It should not be stored for a long time, not more than 1 year old. You just cut it into small pieces. It is not necessary that the pieces should be of a particular size. If you cut it into smaller pieces, it is better to handle. Okay, if you cut it into a little larger size, then it doesn't matter. Okay, just you cut it into small pieces, then you soak all this chopped straw into water, cold water, okay, regular water for a whole night so that it becomes soft. Now what happens, then the next day you just boil the straw in hot water for about 2 hours so that you preserve a straw in the field, and then there is rain, there are rodents here and there and a lot of fungi, bacteria growing on it. You have to kill all these things, otherwise they are going to infect your mushrooms. So you have to sterilize your straw also. So putting or keeping them in boiling water for 2 hours is going to sterilize all your straw. Okay, now what happens, it even softens the straw better. Then you just pour the straw into a strainer and you allow it to drain properly. How much you have to drain, if you just hold some straw in your hand and if you squeeze, the water drops should not fall from the straw. So that is how you can test whether enough amount of water has been drained from your straw or not. Okay, then you need some horse gram flour. Okay, to provide immediate food material to the developing mycelium. So you need horse gram flour, you need transparent polythene bags. What you do is you have to take new bags every time. You cannot use the utilized bags again and again. So you have to use new bags, clean bags every time. If the bags are not clean, if you find there may be some contamination, you just sterilize them by wiping them from the inside with a ball of cotton which is dipped in alcohol or in any surface sterilants, like even commonly occurring at your home, antiseptic liquids like Savlon, Dettol and things like that. So you just clean your bags, allow them to dry, and then you can use them. Now we have to provide some kind of aeration. Okay. So what you do, you just punch some holes at the base of the plastic bags. Okay, the polythene bags. Okay. Now what you do, you have your bag now. You have your bottles of seed. Okay, the spawn, and you have your straw ready now. It has been boiled and it is cooled down and it is drained properly. Now what you do is you open your bag with holes at the bottom, and you just press a layer of straw at the bottom, and then you sprinkle some horse gram flour, and then you sprinkle some seed spawn. Okay, means the grain spawn. That is the wheat grains which are covered with the mycelium. Okay, then again you put organize another layer of wheat straw. You press it very carefully, and then you again sprinkle some horse gram flour and the grains, the seed grains or the spawn. In this way, you go on filling your bag up to 3/4 its level. Now, what size of bag you should take? It depends upon how much cultivation you are going to do. If you are going for commercial cultivation, then the bags are of 50 kg or 100 kg. Very huge sized bags are utilized. But if you are using it for your personal use, for your own purposes, then you can use smaller bags also, or 2 kg bag, 5 kg bag, or a 10 kg plastic bag also. So when you are done, okay, you just tie the mouth of the bags tightly, and you keep them in whatever room you have selected for cultivation. Okay. Now you can use any shade, a temporary shade, or you can use any room, a mud house, or anything for this purpose. The only thing is it should have doors and windows for ventilation, and you should be able to maintain lot of moisture and darkness in that room. Here see it is straw, then you can sterilize chemically or you can give hot water treatment, allow the water to drain, and then spawning can be done. See here the person you can see is filling up the bags, the plastic bags, with this straw which is mixed with horse gram flour and your spawn. Okay, the seed spawn. Then if it is a imagine a small room, you can people what they do, they build shelves, and so you can place many polythene bags in that shelf, right from the floor of your room up to the ceiling. Okay, so sometimes hooks are inserted in the ceiling, the hooks by which you hang your ceiling fans or light bulbs and things like that, and just you can tie a thread to the plastic bag and you can hang the bag to the hook. So in this way, in a very small space also, a large number of polythene bags can be stored. Now for first few days, what you have to do, you have to keep the doors and windows shut, and then you have to maintain moisture by just spraying water in the room, on the floor, on the ceilings, on the walls. So there should be a lot of humidity and darkness and cool conditions. So in these conditions, what happens, the mycelium will rapidly start growing. This is called as spawn running. Spawn running means the mycelium will grow all over the straw, and like your bottles, how they looked white or milky in color. So after about a few days, about 15 days, what you will see, the entire polythene bag is looking milky white in color. Okay, that means your spawn running is now complete. Now what you do is you just cut open the polythene bag. When you plant seedlings, you just cut the black polythene bag from one side and you remove it. So in the same way, you cut the polythene bag and you remove the polythene bag. What you will see is the pieces of straw, as they are completely covered by the white mycelium, it forms a tight bundle. Okay, so don't disturb the bundle. Let it be as it is, and you just slowly remove the plastic polythene bags. Okay, now this is the reason why you use transparent polythene bags, because you should be able to see whether the spawn running is complete or not. Okay. Now what you do, you just keep the bundle again on the shelf, or you can hang it again to the ceiling or to your roof, and again allow it to remain as it is. You maintain the moisture, you maintain. Now you can directly even spray, okay, a fine spray of water upon your the bundle of straw. Now, what you have to do later on is you have to keep the doors and windows of this room open for fresh air and sunlight to come inside for 1 or 2 hours every day. Now, what this will do, this will initiate the process of formation of the fruiting bodies, means the formation of mushrooms. Okay, if you have observed in nature, the mycelium is present inside the soil and the mushrooms they come out, okay, in sunlight. So they require light and they require wind or little bit of air also, fresh air. So you have to keep the windows and the doors open for 1 or 2 hours every day, and then you will start finding small buds are growing upon your bundle after 45 days. Small pinpoint like mushrooms will come out, and then they will grow very fast into creamy white oyster cell shaped mushrooms. Now, how you remove the mushrooms is, when a mushroom grows to its full size, you just cut it with the help of a blade, or you just twist it and remove it, pull it out. So the mushroom will come out. So every day you have to go do your harvesting. So if you have large number of polythene bags, then you will get a very big harvest. Okay. Now you can even, if you are going for commercial cultivation, you can add, okay, cotton seed powder to your mushroom bed, and it will increase your yield by 85%. Okay, so this depends, like giving fertilizer to your mushrooms. Okay, because mushrooms are highly perishable, because the fruiting body, it consists of about 90% of water, so it is highly perishable. Within 1 or 2 days, you will find that it gets spoiled. So you have to process this further for preservation. Now many different types of processes are used for drying. They may be dried, they may be frozen, or they may be kept in cans. Okay, uh, stored in cans, or you can make a powder out of them and store them in a dry containers, and so on. So there is a short term or long term storage or refrigerate by refrigeration. See, it's a very long process, and as we are short of time, I will not go into details. Please, you can go through all of this. You can go for refrigeration. Then you can freeze them. So refrigeration is different, and freezing them at a very low temperature is different. Then you can dry the mushrooms in ovens if you have a large scale production, or you can just sun dry them, and you can store them in dry plastic bags, and you can keep them for even for 1 year and use them as you need them. Then you can can the mushrooms at home also, okay, in brine, in the salt solution. So this is a process which I have given you here, by which you can even preserve the mushrooms in cans. Okay, so this is the process. Then you can pickle the mushrooms. Okay, pickling. This is a very common process in India. We pickle many different types of fruits and vegetables to preserve them for a long time. So you can even preserve mushrooms by uh, pickling them. Then we can salt them like other fruits and seeds and nuts and dry fruits. So by salting them, salts and oil, these are actually preservatives, okay, to store food material for a long time. So all these, see, these are the methods of storing and preserving mushrooms. Now, why we should consume mushrooms? This is very important. We have seen what different types of mushrooms are used, how they are cultivated. We have seen the process of cultivation of Pleurotus sajor kaju. But why we should eat them is because the mushrooms, they are proteins, see where we are. Okay, they are very rich in proteins, minerals, and different types of vitamins. Now, the protein content of mushrooms is twice as high as that in any of the vegetables. Okay. Then they have very high percentage of all amino acids, and it is very rich in vitamins like B2, B12, niacin, pantothenic acid, and vitamin C. They are almost free from fat contents. We are now very health conscious, and we do not like our food to be fatty or consisting of large amount of oils or lipids. Then they are therefore very low in calories, and they have very less amount of sugars. So sugar is also a problem nowadays, because lots of people are facing problems of diabetes, then heart problems, weight problems. This is an very ideal food. Okay, mushrooms are an ideal food for all such kind of people. No doubt it is important for people with health problems, but this is also important for all the healthy people also. Okay, then they are providing minerals such as potassium, phosphorus, iron, calcium, and copper. Nowadays we eat iron and calcium tablets to increase the calcium and the iron in our body. So if you consume mushrooms, then that will be natural calcium and natural iron. So this is an general, okay, contents in any type of mushrooms. In 1 cup of mushroom, what you can get. Okay, but we will go and see the composition of the Pleurotus sajor kaju, which we have studied. Okay, as in the cultivation technique. So if you take 100 grams of fresh mushrooms, so what it contains in milligrams, okay, lot of moisture, okay, 90% or 91%. Then lot of fibers are there, proteins are there, C fats are very less, starch means again carbohydrates are very less, amino acids C in huge quantity, vitamins are there in large quantity, and sugars are also very less. So less energy value is there, but you get so many important things here. You're getting fibers, which is very important for your digestive system, proteins, then you're getting amino acids and vitamins. Now, what all these help in? So see, I have given a brief description for each one of this. I won't go into the detail, you can go through it later on. So this table, it is actually meant to show you how much important it is to consume mushrooms. So it helps in weight management, antioxidants, oxidants, and it gives you immunity. It is even used to treat cancer. Okay. Then it does not contain sodium and saturated fats, because people are suffering from diabetes, weight problems, and other things. So they are useful in maintaining your heart. Okay, healthy heart. In pregnancy, it is recommended that you should eat a lot of mushrooms. Okay, they give you so many different types of benefits. Now, why we should grow oyster mushroom is because many different kinds of substrates which are very freely available in India, they can be used for cultivation. Means it's free of cost. Then you can have many different species of pleurotus which are available, which can be cultivated easily, and very simple cultivation technology is there, and it has a very long shelf life. Means you can store them for a very long time, and then it is having highest productivity. So I told you in India, India is actually the largest producer of Pleurotus sajor kaju. Then different species of, see, I've shown you a list here, so many 25 species, okay, can be cultivated. We have just seen one, Pleurotus sajor kaju. Now, I was asked to tell a little bit of economics. Any business in which input is less and output is more is always a profitable business. So that is what is shown here in this, chart. See, if you want to set up an industry, what is required and what may be the approximate cost here. Okay. See, these are the different types of expenditures, recurring and non-recurring expenditures that are required. If you take 6 harvests, 6 crops in 1 year, okay, then your annual income must can be this much, okay, 1,91,400. So this is an approximate estimate which is given, okay. Now here, see, tons per annum. So if you go for a large scale production, about 100 tons per year, then about you will require about 1 acre, because you will have to build a large room or a larger shed and other things, okay. Then you will require a separate rooms for mixing of your boiling and drying and cutting of the straw and all other things. Then you need to multiply your seed spawn, and then you have to maintain contamination free environment and so on. So see, this is given economics of a big project, okay. So cost of land, and then a building and everything, okay, machinery and all, okay. So about this much costing comes. And then if you take about eight crops in your total this, the total comes up to 21 lakhs. Okay, so see, this is what, okay, expenditure, the manpower and everything. You can go through this, okay. We don't have that much time to discuss all these things. I hope somewhere else we will get some time. Anyone who is interested in communicating with this about this topic, or any more information you require, you can communicate with me. You can feel free to communicate with me at any time. Okay. We have many people who are not at all related to botany or mycology, don't have any knowledge about fungi or mushrooms, but they are still very successful in cultivation of these mushrooms. In India, I would like to say that there are some misconceptions about mushrooms or consumption of mushrooms. People think that because they are saprophytes, they grow in places where there is a lot of dung or decaying organic matter and such things, and therefore they think that it is not good or healthy to eat such things. Another misconception is that because they don't look green in color, people think that they are not plants. Okay, it is some kind of non-vegetarian food material. Then some people, the mushrooms, they have a property of being allergic sometimes. Okay, so some people, they when they consume an edible mushroom, also they show some allergic reactions. So these things are actually able to spread some misconceptions about the mushrooms. But no doubt, mushrooms are the best possible additive or a supplement to our diet to increase the protein content in our diet. It is the most healthiest diet that you can get. So many different types of food products. I have a huge, data about it, but I can't tell you. So many recipes are available by which you can consume mushrooms daily in your food. For consumption, no, it is very easy. Why? Because the mushrooms don't have any kind of specific color or any very great taste, okay, as such. They are not tasteless, but they don't have a bitter taste or very sweet taste or a salty taste or something like that, and therefore they can be added to any kind of food product. So you can put it in a soup, you can put it in a vegetable, you can put it in non-vegetarian food, you can put it in anything, okay. It won't change the taste of your food, and therefore you can consume these mushrooms every day. And I recommend here that all of you should include mushrooms on a large scale in your daily diet for your own health benefits, as well as promote the growth and utilization of these mushrooms on a large scale, so that this mushroom industry will flourish more in India, and many people will be benefited from this small scale industry. So thank you very much. Again, I thank all the organizers of this forum for promoting such good topics and good issues through this stage. Thank you very much, and good night.